Just want to do a video on living soil and why we believe in living soil. We don't spray any copper or anything for fungus, and I like it that way because I like the aquatic life in Florida, including the frogs. And applying compost and letting having living roots below your mangoes makes it we don't have to spray for fungal issues on our mangoes because we don't have them. We get lots of fruit. Looks like we're going to get lots of fruit this year, even though we had a freeze that killed 25 little trees, it looks like. But anyway, I think telling people not to apply compost because it'll kill your mangoes is totally... Why are you giving advice on living soils? Because applying the living soil, which is what our compost is, onto this, it won't stay there. It disappears. It moves. It's a moving system. It moves with water, it moves the water, and it won't stay there. So unless you're like putting 2-foot deep compost and planting in pure compost in your yard, which most people don't, they can't really make a pile of compost that would be big enough to cover their yard 2 feet, or it wouldn't look very good. I know that. But anyway, so we apply compost. We found that applying compost, our biodynamic compost, into the cover in tiny amounts, like 50 pounds per acre, gets healthy trees that produce a lot of fruit. Now, we've only been here for 5 years at this location doing this. So 3 years with mangoes. Well, it's going to be 4 coming up within the next 6 months, I believe. But having our trees produce fruit is not the problem. It's getting too much fruit and having the tree on, you have to thin it a lot. That's why we do living soil in Florida, because it works. A little compost quality compost that you make yourself, it's very easy to make, works great. So don't believe what they say that compost kills mangoes. That's not true. Yeah, if you're growing it in pots, it's just compost, it's not a good idea. I would never do that. But I'm talking about in the ground mangoes. Looks like it's going to be a good lychee here too. Let's see here. coconut cream is just finishing. I think staying off, don't walk all over it, is super important. So just have like strict paths for us that you take all the time. You don't walk, you go the same way so that you don't disturb everything. I don't think I'm going to be able to count all my mangoes this year. Quimuk. I treat everything the same way. This Quimuk, it's grafted from Excalibur and it's covered in bloom. So, manure and compost. Big bloom. I think this is going to be the year of the Quimuk. Been fruiting for 2 years. Quimuk. I've been growing it for 8 years continuously. I've been waiting for this fruit. And the little spots that you see on the mangoes, those disappear on these mangoes. Now I listen to a lot of live regenerative cannabis talks, but it's all pot culture, you know, in pots. And it made me think about doing the compost thing or growing mangoes or, you know, other tropical fruit trees in pots, and about the soil, because growing a weed and growing a fruit tree are two different things, of course, and that's where people run into their problem of growing in pure compost with mango trees. Something I just never tried. But I think, and I've thought a lot about this, because I think about living soil, and I think about how people can, or I can grow mangoes in pots. And I think if you took the compost and you put it down, like made it all flat, like, but probably like 10 inches deep, and then took different a grass seed mix and weed seed mix from your yard or somewhere, and threw that on there, and then grew that out a little bit till it's like a foot tall, and then lightly rake it into the, you know, like with a fork, and mix that dirt from the ground into the compost and then let it set there. And then, you know, not very long, like 3 weeks. And then plant, or then mix it up one more time, and I bet it would make a good compost soil mix for all tropical fruit trees. Anyway, this is just stuff I think about, and living soil is really important to me, and figuring out how to grow easier. And I have to thank John Kemp, because AEA, because of his commitment to figuring it out also. And he explains a lot of the stuff that happened here, like why this could be covered in powdery mildew, and the mangoes don't have anything wrong with them, and why you don't have to water, why I don't have to water my compost and trees that I grow in compost in pots ever if they have a hole in the bottom of the pot. Because water and soil is constantly moving in a living system, and nutrients. And biology can provide, it seems, a lot more than what we had thought. Because if somebody would have told me I didn't have to water my seeds that I grow in pots for tropical fruit trees, I would think they were crazy. But living soil works. Compost works for mangoes. Our compost does. Makes it so we don't have to spray. I mean, who wants to spray copper right next to basically a wildlife sanctuary in Florida? Especially if you don't have to. Kind of doesn't make any sense to me. Oh, this Imbe is like loaded. There's the fruit and flower of the Imbe. Or not the fruit, the flower. This one's produced fruit for the last 2 years. It's in bloom a lot. It's just loaded with flowers. It gets bigger and bigger every day. It's like the entire thing is covered. Yeah, so I mean, copper's a pesticide. Let's not forget that. You don't have to use it. We don't have to use it. Anyway, that's why we do living soil. It works, and let's figure this out.